Hello, my name is Harry from Avanti Fostering, and today I'm joined by Amit for Working Parents. Hi, Amit. How are you today?
Hi, Harry. I'm very good, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining me today. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a former deputy head teacher in secondary education. So I spent 10 years working in education. And now have my own sort of business, I guess. I work with organizations, with schools, and really educate and upskill parents and carers on all the dangers that exist online for young people. So I run workshops and webinars and training about all the online harms that are out there for young people and why we need parents and carers to be much more aware of all the dangers and all the challenges that young people are facing online.
Perfect. Sounds very interesting. So, when it comes to things like digital parenting, also staying safe online and trying to navigate the digital world, because there's so many different platforms for parents to think about. When you are explaining this to parents, what are some of the things that you found that have been quite interesting for them to know about?
I think what I've found is actually, to be honest with you, is just how little parents and carers actually know about the online world their children are in. I talk about I talk about all sorts of different topics. So I talk about the different social media apps. I talk about other types of apps. I talk about online gaming, pornography, and the issue around that, sextortion and the issue around that, online grooming, cyberbullying. There's so many different areas that I talk to parents on. And what I find the most interesting is actually just how many parents say to me after, gosh, I had no idea that my child could be, not is necessarily, but could be doing all of this, but is certainly exposed to all of this. Every child is exposed if they're online to all of these things. And parents just they hand over a device and they say sort of, good luck. I don't think they realize that when you hand over a smartphone to your child, you are opening them up to a world that I genuinely believe is more dangerous than the physical world.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was also having a look at some of your social media channels, and there was one post that was stood out to me, and it was about parents that use screens and social media and setting an example. So when you are using social media or quite a lot, and then you expect your children to behave in a certain way. So it's not just with children, but also with adults as well.
Yeah, modeling is massive. I mean, the irony is not lost on me. I talk about all the dangers of social media, yet I'm, all over social media. I get it, but my purpose is different,
Yeah.
and that's the only way that I can reach people. But I think yes, modeling is hugely important. We often, as parents and carers, we often find ourselves addicted to our own phones, whether we are genuinely doing work and checking work emails, or whether we are sort of, endlessly scrolling on TikTok looking for comedy videos. And so
Yeah.
if that's the impression that we're giving our children, if that's what we're doing, if we're on our phones rather than spending our time with them regularly, obviously, then what we're showing them is that mobile phones are basically an integral part of our lives. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, modeling is hugely important. We've got to create screen-free zones. We've got to create expectations, a digital charter about when a phone can be used, can't be used, where it should be charging. But the key thing for parents and carers is actually the same expectations that apply to a young person need to apply to you too. There's got to be a home expectation around how much of our device we're using, where we're using it, and whether ultimately our relationship with our device is a healthy one.
Definitely. Yeah. So it's like digital hygiene, if you will. So
You
it's
could call it that, yeah.
yeah. So it's like it's out in the open. So you're not trying to hide away and use social media or access things. If it's more transparent, then you can be open about these things. Now, when it comes to, for example, our foster parents, is there any advice that you would give them when it comes to managing their foster children's screen time and how they are accessing the internet and what they are accessing?
I think it's a difficult one, having worked with fostering agencies when I was in education, and actually I've done some work with some fostering agencies through this line of work that I do now. It's challenging because I know, for some foster families, the environment can be a very difficult one depending on the circumstances behind the young person. But the key thing is actually involving that child in the discussion. So, rather than setting rules, you can't use your phone past this time, you can't use your phone here, where they're more likely to rebel because,
Yeah.
they're probably not very good with rules. It's more around, let's create a digital charter. Let's set those expectations together. For example, and part of it, sadly, is the art of compromise. You might say to a foster child, you're on your phone too much at night time. We want to try and bring that down. I think phones should go away at 8 o'clock. The foster child might say, actually, no way. I need my phone till 11 because that's when the Snapchat group is going crazy. Well, then
Yeah.
you work with them on a compromise and you involve them in that discussion because research shows the more you involve young people in discussions that, are about them, the more likely they are to follow the expectations that have been set.
Mm.
So get them involved, compromise with them about when phones need to be switched off, where they
Yeah.
can and can't be used. But ultimately, there's four questions that I always say to every single parent, and this applies to foster parents, foster carers. Four questions you should be asking a child every single day. We shouldn't be talking to them about how was well, no, sorry. We should be asking them how was school today, but that's a rubbish question because often what happens is they shrug their shoulders and say it was fine,
Yeah.
and you don't really know where to go from that. Four questions that we should be asking every single day. How was your online world today? Did you see anything online today that worried you? Did anybody send you anything online today that you didn't like? Did you send anything to anybody that you shouldn't have done? And the reason we ask them every single day is we want to create a safe space for those children. They know that if something goes wrong or when something goes wrong, they can come to you. You're building that trust. And on day one, day 10, day 100, those children might still grunt. But you know what? One day they might come to you and say, actually, you know what? I did see something online that worried me today. And suddenly you've got this beautiful moment of trust being built between you and the child around their online experience. So we should be using those four questions every single day with any child that is
Yeah.
online.
That's fantastic. That's really good. And also, I think when you were talking about boundaries, when it comes to setting boundaries, it can be very difficult because it can be divisive, and it can be like, "This is my way, and you have to listen to my way." So having that compromise, having that dialogue open to communicate with the foster child, and this goes for, I think, parents and children as well. Having that communication, they're building that trust that they are able to communicate that with you.
But you're only, yeah, agreed. But you can only create those safe spaces ultimately when you invest in their online world. You've got to travel that digital path with them.
Yeah.
It can't be a case of you're waiting for the school to contact you and say something terrible has happened online, and then you say, I knew nothing about it, but it's been going on for months and months and months. You want to create that safe space, and that comes from, boundaries are important. We should still have boundaries.
Yeah.
But I think it's moving away from rules to expectations and involving the young people in helping set those expectations, creating that balance, making sure their voice is heard, they are empowered, because the digital world to a lot of children is, some of them would even say to you, it's more important than their physical world. They'd rather be in their room on their phone than they would out and about. And so to just take that away, or to put these arbitrary kind of rules in place, would
Yeah.
could can really risk damaging that relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just that hit of dopamine that you get from finding the novelty and the constant novelty of seeing new things that you're. It's also that fear of missing out. So if you turn off your phone, if you step away, you may miss something that's entertaining or interesting. Even as adults as well, when you're a bit bored, you can pull out your phone at any time and you can entertain yourself. It's almost like self-soothing,
Yep.
where you can self-soothe yourself, you can distract yourself from the problems in your life. Having open dialogue, building that trust, having that communication is so valuable. Going off topic slightly, be interesting to get your thoughts about Australia. So with with their ban, what did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, you've probably gathered from my posts on social media. I'm very much in favor of what Australia is doing. Do I think a ban is going to solve all the problems? No. Do I think it's only the government's responsibility to protect children? No. But I think what the government is doing is being proactive. They've recognized that social media companies cannot or will not keep our children safe online. It's not in their interests. Sadly, that's the realization that I've come to, and so where parents are feeling so overwhelmed about what's going on, to say to parents it's totally your responsibility is not the right thing. To say to schools it's totally yours is not the right thing. If the government can help by implementing this ban, and then we've still got to have the education. Parents still need to be educated. Teachers still need to have CPD on what to look out for. But I think the ban, hopefully the data when it comes out, we probably need to wait a year to see what the data shows, will have a really positive impact on the mental health and well-being of young people, on the lack of cyberbullying, decrease in online grooming, and all those kinds of things. I think if we can give children their childhood back,
Yeah,
which for me, being bored, when you have a young child that says to you they're bored, I think that's really important because boredom breeds creativity.
yeah,
And sometimes children need to be bored.
yeah.
It can't be that they just jump on their phone and then they just scroll aimlessly because they're still bored, but they're just finding that dopamine hit and that value in a different way. So I think being bored is important for children. And I'm very much in favor of the Australia ban. I don't think the UK is going to be brave enough to do something like that. I don't think we have the I don't know what word you want to use without using an inappropriate word to do it.
Yeah.
Um, but it is, more and more countries are looking to Australia as a litmus test. We've got Malaysia talking about it, Denmark talking
Yeah.
about it, other EU countries talking about it. It's high time that we take on these social media companies that cannot keep our children safe.
And it would be interesting if there was a warning label. So before you used any kind of social media, you had a warning up front that this is highly addictive. It can be damaging to your health as a reminder. Now, people may ignore that because we've had warning signs on alcohol or cigarettes, and that hasn't stopped people, but it's raised awareness. And so people are remembered, yeah, this could actually be damaging to me. Maybe I should do something else instead.
Yeah, I think, look, anything that we can do, no matter how small or people might think it's ineffective. I mean, I don't know whether warning signs will necessarily have a huge impact, but if it helps keep one kid safe online, then actually it's worth it. So I mean, anything that we can do. For me, the education piece in this country is so important because we don't have those bans, and we do have lots of parents that are just unsure, and we have lots of sectors of society that just don't quite know the dangerous impact of the online world for children. So whatever, the education piece is there. It's massive. For me, it's massive, obviously, because if I stop doing, if they stop doing it, I'd be out of work. My business wouldn't be
Yeah,
running anymore. But it's no, it's educating parents, educating young people, educating teachers, educating anybody involved with young
yeah.
people in some way that
And
this is
also,
what social media is.
yeah, and also because it
Sorry.
moves, no, that's okay. I was just going to say that because it moves so fast, technology moves so fast that older people may feel out of the loop when it comes to anything digital and online space. So I think those questions that you mentioned before are really good because it covers a broad spectrum. Have you seen anything that you think you shouldn't have seen today? So this can cover all types of social media. There may be a new app that you haven't heard about and you don't know how it works. But when the child is receiving that information, if it's an image or if it's some information, then they can communicate that to you. So I think that covers if technology is moving very fast.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I think it's helping. It's how do we create safe, non-judgmental spaces for our children? Because often, the tragic thing about sextortion now, where a few young boys have taken their own lives because they're being blackmailed, having sent inappropriate images of themselves to who they thought were potentially young girls, but actually are blackmailers. That parents just don't know about it. Parents don't know that this is out there, and I'm not for one second blaming the parents of any young child that's taken their own lives, or the young child. They are the victims here. But we need to create that safe space where if something goes wrong, the children can come to us. They can tell us, no matter how bad it might be, no matter how terrible they might feel, they can come to us, and we can try to help them. We're not going to have all the
Mm.
answers. We can't pretend to have all the answers, but we might look at where we can go for some of those answers and for some of that support.
Yeah, so it covers like lot of different emotions, especially for young people growing up and children. You can encounter feelings of shame, embarrassment. So sometimes they may feel awkward to give you this information, but if that communication has built up, that if you have been put into an embarrassing situation, it's okay. And I think that's important because that can lead a child or a young person to bury that down even further. And then that gives other people an opportunity to exploit them because they don't feel comfortable talking about what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the sad reality of what the landscape looks like right now. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm hearing from young people, from parents, from carers, that it is just an unregulated land where chaos and carnage and real danger exists. And we just need some, people are crying out for support, but they're just not getting it.
For anyone that's interested to find out more about the work that you do, they can visit forworkingparents.com. I will also put a link in the description below. Thank
Lovely,
you.
thank you. And yeah, if they want to sort of see the resources that I put out there and the info that I put out there, they can connect with me on Instagram at For Working Parents and on LinkedIn at Amit Kalley.
And in particular, I like the chart. It was very interesting, visually interesting to look at and see the information as well.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much, Amit. I really appreciate you taking the time. Cheers.
No problem. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.